We're here to empower high-income earners to gain back control of your time through financial independence and stop trading your time for money and start letting your money work harder for you.
And hey, if you want to meet other high-income earners on their FIRE journey, join our High Income Earners FIRE Facebook group. Every month, we'll have guest speakers and we'll share about what our team is currently working on and allow you to share what you are working on with other high-income earners.
So welcome back to High Income Earners FIRE podcast. It's Cody A here. Today, I'm with my co-host, Aline Prack, and it's our pleasure to interview Ryan Pineda. Ryan is from Vegas area, and his mission is to help people become wealthy without sacrificing everything to do it. And he said that you don't need to work 80 hours a week, losing precious family time to build a better future. Ryan said, your fitness, family, faith should never suffer in the pursuit of financial freedom. So with that being said, I know the intro doesn't do justice, so I'm just going to welcome Ryan to the show.
What's up? Happy to be here.
Awesome. So let's get it going with, a lot of people know you, but in case people don't, can you give us a quick rundown of your background?
Yeah, I'll give the very short version. Grew up here in Vegas. Never really thought I'd be an entrepreneur. All I ever wanted to do is play baseball. And I was fortunate enough to get drafted when I was 21 years old by the Oakland A's. And I got to play professional baseball for a long time, but never actually got to the big leagues. So what most people don't know is that in the minor leagues, you don't really make much money.
No.
I was making $1,200 a month as a minor leaguer. And I did that for 8 years, and so during that time I had to get jobs in the off season. And so this was what kind of led me down my entrepreneurial path, is that if I wanted to play baseball, I had to go do something to make money in the off season. And nobody was really hiring guys like me because they want people who are going to be there all year. So, in 2010, I got my real estate license and I took a stab at being a realtor. Sold some houses, but completely hated it. After that, I did random things like substitute teaching. I ended up flipping couches, which got famous all of a sudden. That was just, it wasn't even a thing back then. I just figured it out along the way. And now I made YouTube videos about it and they went viral. So that was kind of weird seeing that happen. But, in 2015, I really took a stab at becoming a house flipper for the first time. And I had saved up $10,000 from my house flipping or my couch flipping journey. And I still, wasn't really making money because I was still playing baseball at the time. But long story short, it wasn't enough to buy my first flip. So I maxed out all my credit cards and bought my first flip. I had to max out $50,000 between my wife and my credit card. And thankfully, it ended up working out. A couple months later, after buying not one, but two deals, I sold one of them for $25,000 profit. It was more money than I'd ever seen in my life. And from there, I was hooked to real estate because I was like, man, this is, where else can you do this? And so I ended up scaling from there. The first year I did 5 flips, then I did 20, then I did 50. Then in 2018, I did almost 150. And everything happened really fast. And along that journey, I started to realize that there was all these other businesses that people in my industry wanted, or these other services. People were asking me, how can they flip houses? And so I created an education company. People were asking me about tax. So I created a tax company. Realtors in Vegas wanted to join our brokerage. And so I created a brokerage. And then from there, I had a lot of success as a business person. And in 2020, I decided it was time to start taking social media seriously. Because I just felt like with the pandemic and everything going on, everyone was going to be glued to their phones. And it turned out to be a good assumption because I kind of struck while the iron was hot, while everyone was locked down. And I started a TikTok, I started a YouTube, I started getting active on Instagram. And, fast forward, I've got almost, I don't even know, 1.5 million followers. And it's been crazy just going on that journey the last 2 years. And that journey even led to more journeys. Now I have a real estate fund where we purchased 460 units the last 5 months. I've got an e-commerce company where we manage over 300 e-com stores. And working on an NFT project. So yeah, my entrepreneurial journey was not planned or expected, but it's gotten pretty crazy the last few years.
Can we go back really quick to...
There's a lot to unpack, I know. That was the quick and easy version.
To flipping couches for a second there. What does flipping couches entail? I've never heard of that before.
Yeah. So my wife and I had just gotten married, right? And we didn't have any money. She was 21 years old. She was still in college. I was 24. And I just remember furnishing our apartment. We moved in together and I furnished the apartment for like $1,000. And I just was like, dude, I bet you I could sell this furniture for like 3,000 because I got such a good deal on all of it. I was like, whatever. And I remember I was substitute teaching at the time, making like 90 to $100 a day. And I just sat there really thinking about this idea while these kids were annoying the crap out of me. And I was like, dude, if I just found one couch, I bet you I make more than this $100 I'm sitting here for 6 hours for being the worst sub ever. And I just put it to the test. While I was teaching, I found a couch. I text the seller. I said, yo, I'll give you like $50 for it. He said, yes. So after school, I go and get my friend's truck. We go pick it up and, I store it at my apartment, which is already tiny, and I relist it. And sure enough, I end up getting a buyer like really quickly and I made a couple $100. And I said, done. Like I've proven it. I could find a couch a day easily, or anything for that matter. It doesn't even have to be a couch. I ended up quitting substitute teaching right there, cold turkey. I went on Craigslist. I found a truck for $1,500 because I knew I was going to need a truck to do this. And I went and rented a 10 by 30 storage unit. Like this is a constant theme, by the way, that I didn't know back then, but later on in my entrepreneurial journey, like every business started this way. Like I get an idea, I kind of take action and test it. It's proven. And then I just go full steam. I don't think about it. I don't procrastinate. I don't try to like create this complicated business plan. I just was like, let's do it. And so, it ended up working out from there. I started just fill up the storage unit with everything like freaking tables, chairs, appliances, couches. And over time, I realized that couches were the ones that had the least amount of problems and had the highest demand, and they were the easiest to transport. And so I kind of just settled on that as the niche. And I got to the point of making $8,000 a month just flipping couches.
Wow.
What's funny is I did it and it was great. Like I was super grateful for that business. And then years later, I mean, we're talking 5-6 years later, I make a video on YouTube, just kind of reminiscing what I used to do. Cause I was like, you know what? I bet you there's a bunch of people who would really benefit from this. And I remember I made the video and I said, I made $8,000 a month doing this. And everyone in the comments is like, BS, there's no way you could do that flipping couches. And like, dude, super skeptical. And like a year later, it's funny, we've created like this whole revolution, dude. There's like couch flippers everywhere. I call it Flip Nation. And I see YouTube videos all the time of people like, yeah, I made $20,000 this month flipping couches. I made $5,000 barely doing anything. And I'm like, man, I wasn't like even trying and I made 8,000.
Wow. That is a hidden industry or a hidden market that I never even knew existed.
It's not hidden anymore.
Well, it's probably hidden in Canada still. So maybe some of the high income earners in Canada is going to quit their job cold turkey and go flip couches.
It might make more money, honestly.
That was a short intro for sure. I think Aline and I can both agree to that. And you touched on a really key point on, and I think this is the way Aline and I really agree on is you think of something, you make it work, proof of concept, full steam, right? This is how our podcast came about. Really, I was on Arlene's podcast. I'm like, hey, I'm looking for a female co-host. Arlene said, yeah, we hit it off really well. Okay, let's do it. And then 3 months later, we're here. So have you ever failed or run into any problem with that kind of mentality?
What's funny is I was actually just on a coaching call with my students and I talked about this concept of failure in businesses. So on one hand, I fail every day. Like literally these businesses have constant things that always fail, right? We get rejected on offers, somebody quits or, gets fired, a contractor doesn't do what they say they're going to do. We miss a deadline, property falls out of contract. Like, dude, failure is literally every day. And, I got used to failure playing baseball, right? Baseball is like literally the number one failure sport. If you fail 7 out of 10 times, like, yeah, you're an all-star if you fail 7 out of 10 times, right? Yeah. So I got used to failure. But in terms of has the business of mine ever failed? Knock on wood, but no, not to this point. None of the businesses have failed. I wasn't one of those entrepreneurs that was like, yo, I'm going to try this business. And then, it didn't work, right? And then they have this story of I tried 5 different businesses. They all failed. And I finally hit it on the 6th one. And that was the business that worked for me. I haven't experienced that. Every business I've ever started has done really well. And the thing is, before I ever start a business these days, like I'm pretty much like, I got to be almost certain that it's going to win. I'm not one of those guys who has like this great idea and they're like, let's do it. Like when I get the good idea, I'm like, okay, let me really think about this idea. Like what could go wrong? What needs to happen for it to go right? What is the potential of this idea? You know, how much time is this idea going to take for me? Who are the people I'm missing in this idea? So I go through a whole big list of questions before I ever say, all right, this idea is feasible. Let's do it. It's worth my time. It's going to work. So that's kind of what I do. But I will say, and this is what I told my students, even when I go with that idea, every single business I ever started, that initial idea and way that I thought that business would make money is way different. It's different today. It's not what I thought it was going to be. When I first started doing education, originally, I was like, I am only going to sell courses. I don't want to coach. I don't want to do events. That's too much work. I don't want to do it. So I launched Future Flipper in 2018 with just courses. And we didn't really sell very much of anything, right? And it's not that I gave up or, you know, I was just going to quit the business. I was just like, whatever, you know, I didn't do that good, but I don't really care. 2019, you know, I start to realize like, man, people kind of want events. People kind of want coaching. And so I start to adjust my model. And then 2020, we finally embraced coaching and, you know, group coaching and events. And, you know, now we've got thousands of students, you know, who have gone through our events or coaching programs. And that's where our biggest moneymaker is. That's where we get the biggest, you know, transformation. But back 2018, when I started, that was not the plan. I had to fail and see that, you know, not only did people not really want to just buy courses only, they wanted community, they wanted a mentor. I had also had to see that if I was going to truly try and educate people, the only way it was going to work was by leading with value through things like YouTube and podcasts and other stuff too, which I was not doing at the time. So the business is so different today, but we've made it work to be very successful.
I love it. I'm nodding my head, not because I need to nod my head, just because this is my journey as well. Very similar. I started personal coaching at 101 and we all soon realized come on, you can't scale that. Then you go to the course and then people say, Cody, so what's after the course? The next course? Like people ask for intermediate course, the advanced course. I'm like, and I feel I'm not serving people by not giving them enough value. So that's where's the mastermind coming up now. That's where I have weekly calls and hold people accountable. We have head coach, hold people accountable and all that. And it sounds like you're doing that as well. And we just double down, triple down, 10x our marketing and help out more people and just go in the cycle, right? So that's why I was nodding my head. And it's good to hear that's one of the biggest way for you to build your income to reach FIRE too, right? Since we're talking about this, what's the top 3 most efficient ways? Highest return on time and the lowest return on stress. What are the top 3 ways?
So for me today, the first thing I ever made $1 million on was flipping houses. Like that was the only way I made real income. Even courses and stuff weren't even close, you know, and I didn't fully embrace kind of being a guru. I just didn't want to be that guy. I was like, I'd rather just work in my own business. As I became more known on social media, you start to realize that, you know, nationwide digital products and services are what you can sell and make the most money. Unfortunately, having 1 million+ followers doesn't really help you too much in Vegas, right? Unless they're in Vegas and they've got a deal and, you know, whatever. But when I can go and coach people nationwide because they see my YouTube video, well, it makes scaling infinitely easier. So I would say the 2 biggest businesses at the moment are my education business and my e-commerce business. So the e-commerce is a totally different business that we could talk about if you want, but the reason that business is, I don't even want to say easy, because right now we're in the thick of like the grind of really building that out because it grew so fast. But they're just businesses that people can get and join nationwide. So that's why they're easier to scale, I should say. But the third one would be either house flipping or my fund. I mean, house flipping makes me more money today, but the fund will for sure as time goes on. You know, when we get thousands of units eventually, I'll make a lot more money with my fund than I will flipping houses. But I mean, those are all multi-million-dollar businesses, just those 4. And we still have the CPA firm. I actually just shut down my real estate brokerage, which we had almost 200 realtors, for that very reason, that it's not scalable nationwide. We had almost 200 local agents and, you know, it's very profitable and it was great, but it was kind of like couch flipping in that it's like, man, we're kind of at a cap of what we can do. Yeah, I could go get another 100 agents this next year, but if I was nationwide, I could go get thousands. And so we converted them all to a company called Real, which is kind of like an EXP. And that allows us to go nationwide and recruit. And I ended up taking everything I learned from Future Flipper and how to build an education company. And I built another education company dedicated to realtors called Wealthy Agent. So I just launched that company about 3 weeks ago. And essentially what we're doing is teaching agents how to become wealthy outside of just real estate transactions, because fortunately, all the agent training right now is about, hey, how do we get commissions? How do we increase our GCI? And how do we work our sphere of influence? I'm like, that's great. You can go get deals, but let me tell you what, that ain't what makes you wealthy. If you're one of these realtors who makes high income, but you don't own any real estate, you ain't doing nothing, in my opinion. So, I want to teach you how to buy real estate with the income you're making. I want to teach you how to build social media presence, because those are going to be the best leads you get in everything, whether it's go and represent them as a buyer, to get their listings, to go raise money. Like, social media is so powerful, but these old school guys don't teach them how to do it. And then also taxes, right? Like, most of these guys have no idea how tax work. And so they end up paying all this money in tax every year. And if they just knew, like, wealthy people don't pay tax. Like, the majority of them figure out a way not to legally, because they understand the code. And so that's really why I created that. I saw that issue owning a brokerage, and I just said, you know what? I'm going to merge these two issues and solve the problem simultaneously. So that's what I got going on as far as all that. And I'll say this too, before I jump into the next point. I think what I'm about to do with NFTs will surpass all of those. I am like so bullish on NFTs, and I'll just leave it at that. Like, what I'm about to do with NFTs and real estate is nobody's ever done it. So it's going to be kind of the first of its kind. So if anyone is interested in our NFT, by the time you watch this, we should have opened up our community. So if you go to tykes.xyz, Tykes spelled TYKES.xyz, you're going to be able to join the Discord and kind of stay up to date for our launch. And really what Tykes are is a short name for digital tycoons. I am trying to create the next wave of tycoons, which I believe are going to be in the digital space, not the real world. The NFT industry is going to be multi trillions of dollars as people start to realize what an NFT actually is. I mean, at the end of the day, most people think it's like a picture of a monkey. Really, an NFT is just a receipt that you own something. That's what it is. And the sooner people start realizing that, the sooner that so many transactions we do in this world are going to be through an NFT. And whether it's me selling you my house, whether it is me, buying a piece of art from you, and that's now the new certificate of authenticity, whether that's me trying to get into an event like Gary Vee's doing with his NFT, like, the world is going to change completely from NFTs. And so for me, the reason I believe that what I'm about to do is bigger than all of them combined is because it's this unique point in time where you're so early on this technology that is literally like being early on the internet or being early on social media. Like, these waves happen, and this is one of them. And so now I'm like in a position, and my idea of all the different ways that we can bring NFTs and real estate together, nobody's talked about them or thought of them. And as the project gets closer and closer to mint, I'll be revealing a lot of the things we're going to be doing for our holders. So it's going to be pretty crazy.
Believe it or not, actually, a close friend of mine who's a big mortgage broker in Toronto, Canada, we're chatting about this. Yes. And again, I'll leave it there. And then until you release it, I'll probably be like, oh yeah, that's what we're thinking. Or maybe we're so far apart. But yeah, there's actually a white paper and Canadian government's website talking about plans for this. They know all these cryptos and NFTs are coming to real estate as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to change real estate more than anything that has ever changed the landscape of real estate. Like, people are worried about iBuyers and hedge funds. Like, that's peanuts compared to like how the industry is going to change with the technology of NFTs.
Wow. So happy to hear all this. And it's a totally different perspective, because a lot of time when we get a real estate investor on, it's all real estate, right? But you have social media, you have tech company, you have education, you own a broker, and you kind of flip it, or you say you take a step back, you have real estate funds. For me to ask you one question to even justify your answer is, where in the day do you find time, or how do you manage all these and grow at such a high pace level? And I heard you only work 9 to 5. So
Yeah.
I want to ask the person itself, how do you do that?
Yeah, it's funny, man. Yeah, like I'm golfing tomorrow and Friday. I tell people I work 10 to 5, Monday to Thursday. That's it. I don't work weekends. I don't work at nights. I figure out how to work everything in that allotted time period. And I started getting this question like over and over again, not only just from podcasts, but also just in life and on social media and stuff. And let this be to all the entrepreneurs listening. Anytime you constantly get a question, that means there's a problem to solve and to create a product or a business around it. That's literally how I've started every single business I've ever had. Ryan, how do I flip a house? So I create an education company. How do I do my taxes? So I create a tax company. And this question is a little bit different because it's not necessarily a product, but it's more of a philosophy and a blueprint for life. And I started to think about it really in depth. And I said, you know what? I need to tell people how I do this and really document the process. And so I created something called the Wealthy Way. And so that's something I'm really passionate about right now, which is community that I've built that, has a course teaching people exactly what I do to, get all the work that you described done, but also do these other things that we haven't even mentioned, like hang with my wife and 2 kids, still be able to golf and, work out every day and take care of my health, still be able to have my relationship with God, still be able to go on vacation and enjoy time, like the things that I've worked for. Most people just don't have that balance because they're so focused on one thing. They're like so single-minded on growing their business and scaling and getting more units and flipping more houses and getting more revenue that they neglect everything else. And for me, I've always taken the opposite approach. I was like, look, it's not about the money. Like that is a piece of my life. It's not the piece of my life. And so how do I get better at all these different aspects simultaneously all at once? And you only have 24 hours in a day. So you got to really figure out how to allocate time properly. And so, what I did was I created this course like over 4 hours long. I also had my tech team develop a planner as a software because there was no planner that existed the way that, I utilize my planner and set goals and journal and, do stuff every morning. And then, there was no community of these people who kind of thought this way. Like you've got this, FIRE podcast, and there's a great FIRE community. Like everybody has the same goal. They get it, but there's nobody that's really like leading the charge on this kind of community. So I said, you know what? I'm going to create all this. I'm going to name it something catchy, the Wealthy Way. And I'm just going to give it all away for free. And so I spent 6 figures developing all this and stuff that hasn't even been released yet. But, I just knew that it was a passion project and something I wanted to do. And, it's been crazy. I think we've had in 2 months, like 30,000 people download the courses.
I was one of it.
Yeah, there we go. And, the community on Discord is growing. I think we're like 8,000 people and like people are loving it. And I tell people this all the time. I'm like, literally, there are no upsells. There's nothing. Like you get everything for free. I am not afraid to sell you. Like, you got any of my other businesses, I will sell you as hard as I can because, that's business and that's how you make money and you got to pay to play in many things. But I tell people at the Wealthy Way, I'm like, look, there's nothing. Like this is not a bait and switch. Like join the community, have fun. And inevitably people do buy products from me after going through it because they're like, oh man, like this is awesome.
So is that how you typically, like when you come up with a new idea for a new business or a venture or some great idea that you want to give back to the community, is that like how your thought process works? Like there's a couple of steps that you allocate across every single new idea. Like the first couple of steps, those foundational steps, are they very similar with each one, or is each one a little bit different as you go forward?
Yeah, I just realized I'm wearing my Wealthy Way shirt. I got to start giving people these shirts. The
Wealth builders.
Okay, first off, I get a new idea like every week. And so like I have to really discern what's the best idea to go after because I can only do so many. And an idea could be a whole new company like the Wealthy Way or like the NFT, or it could just be a new product to an existing company, right? So like what my typical day is, or week, I should say, is I film and do what I got to do content wise. And then, I take whatever meetings I have to take with my team or somebody else. And then the rest of my time is spent building out a new product or service. That's how I spend my day. I don't really spend anything on the day-to-day of companies. Like I don't close deals anymore. I'm not on the phone with sellers. I'm not trying to raise money. Like that ain't what I do anymore because I've realized the other stuff is such a higher return of time. And personally, I just enjoy creating new stuff all the time. It's fun. That's why I have so many things going on. But if I have a new idea, this is kind of the thought process. I'll give you an example of a newest idea I'm working on. So I'll get inspired by something I hear or something I read or something I see. And I'll start to think, okay, like how can I apply this to what I'm already doing, right? Like how would this relate? And I'll start to think through whether or not, it's worth my time first and foremost, because I get a lot of ideas that are like, these are great ideas, but man, the return on it's just not there.
Nothing. Yeah. Too much time.
Yeah, it's just not going to be worth it. So I'm like, scrap it. But assuming I'm like, okay, this is like a really big idea, or this could be a product that I just make once and then I get infinite return on it forever, right? Like, so a course would be something like that. You make it once, you have to do it again, right? If I were to do an event, that's a little bit different, right? Like an event, I do it, it's done. I don't get infinite return. Like I got to go hold another event at some point. So I start to think about these things. Are they evergreen? Are they one-time events? Like, what's the deal with it? For me, I'm pretty much only thinking about things that are evergreen at this point, because that just gives you the best ROI. Like, and you can add it on to other things. When somebody buys, I don't know, education, right? And I can go add on the Wealthy Way to what they're doing. I can add on the planner and all these things that take no more time out of my day, but they're huge add-ons to their life. It makes your value stack so much bigger with what you're doing. So anyways, like one big idea I had maybe a few days ago was I was listening to a pastor actually speak. Like I get inspired by many different things. And the pastor was saying like, one of their missions is to help women start businesses. And I said, that's a really good thing. And I started to think about it too. And I'm like, so many people ask me how to start a business. Like, and I teach people how to start a real estate business, but like, I understand how to start any business. It doesn't matter if it's real estate or not, but there's not really any good resources on like, here's how to start a business in today's society. Like there's just the random stuff of, yeah, you need to open an LLC. You need to go get a product, open a website, like the basics, but it's like, that doesn't do anything. Like, tell me how you actually figure out what business you want to start. Tell me how you actually market it and create a funnel. Tell me how you create a sales pitch and a follow-up process to get your customer. And then tell me how you upsell your customer into the next product or ascend them or retain them on a subscription. So you're not constantly having to get new customers, but you're maximizing the value of one customer. And I was like, nobody teaches that. And so I just was like, you know what? I'm just going to create a course because like I know how to do it across any industry, but I just need to put it all on paper. And so what I did was I immediately outlined right then and there. Okay, this is the key. When you have a great idea, you take action immediately. Do not be like, this is a good idea. I'm busy or I'm bored or I'm going to like wait and see if it's a good idea a month from now. Like if you wait a month, the idea dies. All good ideas die with procrastination. So like what I do is I get a good idea. I'm like, all right, well, let's see how this would look. Like, obviously this is a good idea. It's a need. It's something that will last forever. I'm down to do that. And so I start sketching out the course and stuff. And then I start thinking like, okay, what am I going to charge for this? Who's my audience? Who's going to buy it? All this stuff. And I started thinking, I'm like, you know what? If somebody's trying to start a business, they probably don't have money. Like that's why they're trying to start a business. Like they don't really know what to do. So trying to sell this like for a premium price is probably dumb. And having the Wealthy Way now, I've learned that giving away such great products and things for free builds a ton of goodwill and it comes back to you, like regardless of if you sell or not. And so I said, you know what? I'm just going to like use the Wealthy Way as this community to do these general ideas that can apply to anybody. And so I'm creating a new course for the Wealthy Way. I don't know when it'll come out, but I've outlined it and now I'll have to really script it out and film it and edit it and all. It'll take a lot of time, but I'm going to give it away for free. So it's just a new product essentially, and it's free, but I can promise you it will make money based on just the goodwill and the value that it generates for the world. And maybe I've seen this happen already at Future Flipper where somebody will join our house flipping and they'll tell me, they'll be like, hey, I used couch flipping to buy into Future Flipper. And I'll be like, that's exactly what this is. If I teach somebody how to make money with a business, I can almost promise you they're going to end up repaying me some way, somehow with one of my other businesses. And that doesn't even have to be the intent. Like I just enjoy making courses and products and stuff because it's fun and it helps people and I enjoy that. But it's like the book The Go-Giver says, like if you give value, inevitably it will return to you.
I love it. Everything you mentioned, I went through it. I figured out like myself, a higher business coach. And it's good that you're helping more women's doing that, because I think a lot of women out there might not have to believe like guys like us. Like, it might seem really natural for us, but a lot of time there's a mindset change and the belief in that, right? We are very superhuman, just so you know. Like Ryan, I thought it was superhuman, but when I talk to you, I'm like, it's great. I'm getting inspired. I don't get inspired much anymore. But when I talk to you, I'm like, okay, you can work from Monday to Thursday, 9 to 5, and still build all these business. I have hope. There is hope.
With 2 young children.
Yeah. 3-year-old.
With 2 young children, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So besides like marketing, filming, visionary work, who else is doing all the rest of things? And how do you find those team right now for you?
Yeah. So like right here, these are interns right there, but you can see an entire like sales floor over there a little bit. For those of you listening, I was just turning my screen.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't even know how many employees we have. It's over 50 at this point between all the companies. So we got a lot of manpower working every single day. But, one thing I did was I put integrators at the top of each thing. So it's like, man, these integrators, whether they're partners who, we have profit split together, or, maybe they're just hired guns who get a percentage of net profit. Like, these guys are running it as if it's their own company, and they're getting the direction and vision from me, and they're running them really well. And I don't really need to do much. Like, they're doing what they're supposed to do, and they'll let me know when there are issues that I need to solve, which, like I said, every day there are issues, but thankfully I don't hear about 90% of them, because they're able to handle them all. But, when I do hear about issues, they're usually big issues. And so we need to solve them, and I'll give my input, they'll execute. And then, we move on and we just continue to run businesses and grow them. And like you had mentioned, visionary, I tried to set the vision for what I want to see from the company from a goals perspective, kind of how we're going to get there. And then it's all their job to execute that vision.
I know this is a selfish question, but where do you find these integrators? Off the street, on YouTube, people reach out to you, post on social media. Where do you find these like superhuman integrators that can take you and take me, people like ourselves? Like, when we work less, that means we're leveraging, right? So they kind of have to read your mind and know how you work too, right? So where do you find these people?
Yeah, I have some real A players in all my companies. Got a lot of A players at the top. I got some B players, over there. We have no C players. Like, you don't make it if you're a C, you're getting kicked out pretty quickly. So we're pretty cutthroat on that side. One thing is, I'll show you. So right there's our core values. You kind of got the glare on the screens. You can't see it, but we have 4 core values.
Enthusiasm. Is that?
Yeah. Well, so the 4 core values, the little heart is serve others.
Oh, serve others. Sorry.
Yeah. The other one was train daily. I see people who want to get better every day, at their job and their life, etc. Play fair. Like, I don't want people who don't have integrity. And then no ego, right? Like, I don't care how good you are at your job. I don't need to hear about it. Right. So, I think everyone we hire has those attributes. You cannot work for me if you lack any one of those. I will not take you. I don't care how much money you could generate. But the other thing is, as far as these integrators go, they fit those core values. They uphold those core values. They know whenever we hire an employee, they got to fit those core values, and they're empowered to make decisions without me. Every house we buy to flip, I do not approve it or see it. Like, I have that much trust that he's buying the right house. And let me tell you, we got 60 house flips going on and probably $20 million plus worth of hard money loans and stuff. And we got a pretty sizable debt that I trust we've bought good deals with, right? Because I've trained him over the years, and like, I trust him. And all the businesses function in that same way. They're making high level decisions on a day-to-day basis based on the trust we've built, based on the training I've given them over the years. And that's what part of the reason why I never wanted to coach was because my coaching is really done in my own companies. Like, I am coaching these guys more than I coach anyone else to make sure that they're doing what they should do. But like, I didn't mention this, but I have actually an integrator for the integrators. So my sister Noelle, what I would call my right-hand person, she's 4 years younger than me, and she is just an absolute stud. And basically, she keeps tabs on all the integrators, making sure they're so she's holding them accountable. And she honestly holds me accountable too, because I'll be like freaking doing whatever. I'll be golfing or doing something, and she'll be like, hey, you're supposed to make that ad. Sean Bob needs the ad for this. Davila, you got an event next week, dude. Like, whatever. Or my email starts to get filled up because I'm just like, I don't give a crap. She'd be like, dude, clear out your email. Like, let's go. And so like she holds me accountable as well. And I think having that kind of accountability everywhere definitely keeps everyone moving forward without getting distracted. And that's why we're able to move at such like a hyper pace. But, as far as finding these people, I would say they're not something you're going to hire tomorrow. Like you're going to really like wait and build trust over time. Every single one of them either started at a lower position in the company and they rose up to being the leader over time because, they just showed those talents. Or, we had a relationship before the company and I know their character and I know what they're capable of. And, we go into partnership together or, I hire them, like my COO at Future Flipper, before he joined, we did like 700K. And then the year after we did almost 4 million. And it just shows like how much he took it upon himself to grow the company. And he was actually one of my students. He was my very first student. And that's how I found him. I watched him progress as a student over the years and saw his work ethic and saw how much he wanted to help other students. And it's just like, dude, I need a guy. We're ready to scale and, making him an offer.
What we can be on this call for all day, but I gotta respect your time. Aline is probably looking like, Cody, we need to go to the lightning round. Just so people doesn't know, like, I'm so excited. I'm so inspired. Ryan, like I said, I'm gonna say a second time like a broken record. It's hard for me to get inspired because of the circle, man, but I'm inspired by you because you look like you're really young too, or it's just because we're all the Asian
Pretty
genes.
Good. I'm 32, but
I'm 31, so yeah.
It definitely passed for 22.
So let's quickly go into our lightning round and then let's see what Ryan can come up with some cool answers for us. Are you ready for it, Ryan?
Let's do it.
Okay, I'll do the first question. If you become a billionaire tomorrow, or if you're not already, what would you look like?
Maybe from NFTs I will be, but
so become a billionaire tomorrow, what will your day look like?
Good question. I would still create content. I would still golf a lot. It's not like I'd go shut down my businesses tomorrow. They don't really need me that much. And we have obviously so many people that depend on these jobs and stuff too that we've created. So I don't think I'd necessarily lose my hunger or anything on that front. I do think that I'd be freaking buying a ton of real estate with that money. I think I would also kind of start an incubator and invest in other companies and help them grow and scale. I really enjoy obviously building businesses, but like, I really don't think my day-to-day would change. Like, I think I would still continue to make content. The content would change for sure. I would be talking about freaking how I became a billionaire and like what I learned.
That'll become a viral video.
Yeah, I'm a billionaire now. I'm 32. Yeah, I just made an NFT. So there's like so many things that I would do after, but like day-to-day wise, I mean, I'm doing exactly what I want to do. And one thing I want to tell people is this is part of the wealthy way, is kind of working backwards with your lifestyle. So like, what would your dream lifestyle be? At the end of the day, if you could choose, how many hours a week would you work? What would you do? And I already do that. Like, it's never been about money for me. I had enough money when I freaking started flipping couches and making $8,000 a month. Like, I thought I was rich. And then when I made 6 figures for the first time, I was 27 years old. I haven't had money that long. And I thought I was rich at 100K. And then I made $1 million. And I was like, holy crap. Like, I am so rich. I never thought this would ever happen. And so from that point forward, it was always like, I don't need to get more rich. Like, I'm good, so how do I kind of enjoy what I have, but still work hard and enjoy all the other aspects of life. But still as a competitor, want to grow my businesses. And I kind of found a way to do it. And what's funny is the less I work, in terms of the day-to-day operation stuff, the more successful we get, because now I'm freed up to think of these new ideas, to, kind of work on the business instead of in it. It's true. Like, we get better with me working less.
And that's a good segue into the next question, which is, if you were to lose everything today and you were left with only $500,000 in the bank, what would you do to start over?
Well, okay, let me think about this. So it depends what I don't have. Like, if I have a social media following, if I have my business,
nothing but your brain, only your Ryan, your face and your
$500,000.
500K. Yes.
Okay. All right. So I have no following. I have nothing. Okay. But I have my brain on how to make money. Obviously.
Yes.
All right. So what I would do, and I'm sure I would do something different if I really had time to think about it, but like off the top of my head, obviously I would start doing social media still. Like I would go hire videographers, get equipment, and I would like be hitting social media because I know how powerful that is. I would definitely go hire a bunch of people and start flipping houses. Like I already know how to get deals and make money tomorrow. Nobody knows me and I don't have a name. It's hard to sell digital products and, create the businesses I've created at this point. So I can't really sell education or do any of that stuff yet. So I kind of have to take the same path I took before of like, all right, let's go flip houses. Let's go make money. Let's go hire people. And I mean, dude, with $500,000, I could easily turn that into millions in the first year just from, what I already know.
So if you're a podcast host or you already have your Ryan Pineda show, who would you like to interview?
Actually, and I want to amend my previous answer because I just thought about this too. I would definitely put a bunch of money into the NFT too. Actually,
your
that's
own
probably
project.
what I would do.
What would be the percentage? Would you go full on in 500,000 into that?
No, because I don't need all my money devoted towards that, but I would definitely be putting a chunk into my NFT project, a chunk into social, and then the rest in real estate. Okay. But anyways, as a podcast host, I've had some really cool people on my podcast lately. I had Derek Carr on, the QB of the Raiders. That episode did really good. I've had Graham Stephan and these guys on. I've had Grant Cardone on. I've had some really talented people. I can tell you, I guess, dream people have never been like entrepreneurs or business people. Like, yeah, if I get Tony Robbins or Robert Kiyosaki or these guys on, like, that's cool, but it ain't gonna I don't really care. Even when I did Cardone, it was cool, but by no means was like, I can't sleep. This is going to be the greatest ever. So yeah, that stuff doesn't really like get me going. As a Christian, I always say this, like, if I could have ever talked to Jesus or any of the disciples or any of the people that were around him, that would be way cooler to me than anything else. Like, what was it like being around Jesus during that time? Right? Like, how crazy was it? Like, telling people about this and the persecution and all these things. And so that would excite me more than anything. But if I had to pick, something non-religious, I don't even know that I'd want to like talk to Elon or these guys because I think I'm not smart enough to really extract the value from them that would be like game changing for my life. Like Elon's stuff that he knows is so like not applicable to me. It's just too different. And it's just too far away from me. Whereas like something from Cardone, I can totally apply. Like we're in the same space. We do kind of the same things. Like I could totally learn way more from him than somebody else. So I don't even know that I'd want Elon or those guys. If I had to pick, I'd probably pick like Kobe or something. As a sports guy, I've always loved sports, whether it was, you could see a bunch of my sports stuff in the background. Those are the guys that like I really looked up to growing up. And like Kobe was, I think I can learn a ton from Kobe, not just, as a fan, but like, man, that guy's work ethic and everything he did was so legendary. Like I'd want to know how he did a lot of that stuff.
Love the answer.
So Ryan, what are some of the ways that you like to give back?
I like to give in a lot of different ways. I mean, the Wealthy Way was a way of giving back with a ton of different resources. So I like to do that. I like to now create these free courses like I was telling you about earlier. I definitely want to do that. I enjoy serving at my church in a lot of different things. Like this Friday, we're going to go feed the homeless actually. And in May, we are going to build houses in Mexico for families. So I really enjoy that as well. But I would say I've kind of realized with the internet and social media that like you can make such a big impact with videos and other things like, the amount of people that have reached out to me saying that like one of my videos has impacted them has like been crazy. And you just see the scalability of that. If I go help build a house in Mexico, like I feel great. That's amazing. And, it is life-changing, but it's also one family, and with video and all this other stuff, if I can go help, thousands or millions of people, then it's a totally different ball game. And, so I'm really focused on social media and because that is for me anyways, like I think the biggest way you can impact people, not only financially, but just like with your message.
Love how you still put that evergreen concept in your answer because whatever the video goes out, it's out there for life and people can continue to watch it 10 times, even if you're not there to present it live.
Well, one thing I'll say too is that's one of the reasons why I don't ever do videos like on the news. A lot of YouTubers love the news, and don't get me wrong, it is definitely the way to get views and hit on these trending topics and stuff. But for me, it doesn't fit with like what I want to do. It's not evergreen, and I don't even want to watch the news anyway. It's freaking boring.
I think Stephen Graham is on the same train of thought. So 80% evergreen, maybe 20% some trendy news just to catch a little bit of new people, right?
Yeah. But he's swapped. He's actually the opposite now. He used to do that, and now he's mainly news.
So where can our audience find more about you? Where do you want to channel them to?
I want them all to download Wealthy Way. That's what I want everyone to go through. If you go to wealthyway.com, I think that will change your life more than anything. I don't even care if you buy a product or not, but I think that will have the biggest impact on your life. If you do want to follow me on social or see whatever these other businesses are that I have, you can see them all at ryanpineda.com as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ryan. You dropped so many value bombs today, and there were so many great takeaways that we could learn from everything that you've been built up to today. And you still have so much more runway ahead of you. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing all of that.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Man, it's such inspiring. I just got to say, we thought it was 30 minutes, but it ended up being an hour, and we could go for another few hours, I know. And yeah, thanks for coming on. It's really, I really love it.
Yeah, guys, I appreciate you having me on. It's been an honor.
All the links mentioned in this episode are included in the show notes. And if you love this episode, please leave us a rating and review on Apple iTunes. The link is also included in the show notes. And we would really appreciate your help in spreading the word to more high income earners on how they too can maximize both their time and money.
Also, if you still haven't joined our High Income Earners Facebook group, you are missing out on High Income Earners community where we help each other reach our own version of FIRE.